The nurse told me the truth about my wife. The baby cries once, thin, fierce, and a nurse meets my eyes like she's bracing for impact. We need to talk now. I think preeclampsia, blood loss, some horror I can fix by signing a form. Then you're listed as father, but labs don't match. My wife smiles through exhaustion, squeezes my hand, and my stomach drops through the floor. I've got 1 minute to decide: play dumb, protect this moment, or rip the bandage in front of her mom, her sister, the world. Marriage, our family identity, who I am as a dad, everything hangs by a thread that feels ready to snap. Cognitive dissonance versus truth. The narrator fights the urge to keep the happy script while facts demand a rewrite. Attachment rupture. Love habits collide with betrayal. Forcing boundaries over bonding. Medical ethics as plot engine. Informed consent and documentation prevent narrative manipulation. Gaslighting, triangulation, and bystander complicity. Subtle social pressures are named and resisted. Post-betrayal recovery. Regulation over rage. Witness over performance. Dignity over drama. The promise of a normal life. We weren't a fairy tale, but we were us. Our inside jokes were dumb and perfect. She hated olives. I smuggled them onto her pizza and pretended confusion. She snored like a gentle chainsaw. I pretended I adored white noise. We built a nursery with paint on our elbows, arguing over whether sage was green or gray. The crib was a battlefield that turned into a victory dance at 3 in the morning. We stuck glow-in-the-dark stars to the ceiling and agreed to call it our fake sky. If you'd asked me then, I'd have bet my life on us. Pregnancy turned me into a delivery mule for cravings. I drove at 11:47 p.m. for pickle-flavored chips, and the cashier gave me a look like, "Man, you okay?" I was. I loved ridiculous errands. She'd text, "Strawberry shakes or I will cry," and I'd show up with 2. She'd laugh and kiss my cheek and tell the baby, "Your dad's a good man," and I'd stand a little taller. We took belly photos. We argued over stroller features like engineers in a wind tunnel. I learned swaddling on a stuffed giraffe and failed with dignity. There were flags, sure, but at the time, they were just odd breezes. Late-night study sessions for a certification she'd half finished years ago. A locked phone when she used to hand it to me to cue playlists. A new prenatal yoga friend named Sam who texted her sunrise emojis and recipes for bone broth. I joked about cult recruitment. She said, "He's just helpful." I let it pass because I wanted our life to be shiny and simple. People earn privacy. That's what I told myself. Robbie didn't love it. Robbie is the friend who'll tell you your fly is down before you walk on stage. He raised an eyebrow over wings and said, "You okay with the new phone rules?" I waved him off. It's pregnancy brain. He hit me with a look that said, "You're choosing an easier story." I chose it anyway. Picking battles felt noble then. At the baby shower, her cousin lifted a glass and said, "To new beginnings," with a tone like the room was a courtroom and we were pleading guilty to hope. I clocked it and buried it. Balloons, frosting, onesies shaped like animals. Why pick at a thread when the sweater keeps you warm? She glowed that day. She squeezed my hand when people left and whispered, "Our baby's already loved." The echo made me feel like a cathedral. When her water broke, she looked at me with eyes that said it was go time. I moved like a man in a commercial, bag by the door, shoes on, car keys spinning. I drove like a hero, talking to traffic lights. She dialed someone and said, "We're on our way," and I assumed she meant her mom. It clicked wrong half a second, then the contraction hit and rewrote the room. At intake, I did paperwork like my signature could keep the lights on. Name, insurance ons. Name, insurance, father, me. The nurse asked questions with gentle speed. My wife's phone buzzed. She fumbled it. The nurse's eyes flicked to the screen, just a crack of recognition, then her mouth twitched like she'd bitten a seed. I filed that away with 1,000 tiny oddities you ignore when your world is about to arrive. I am not a warrior by nature. I am a fixer. So when the first nurse took blood with practiced hands and said, "We'll just run standard labs," I nodded like a person whose life wouldn't be altered by the results. I held her wrist during a contraction. I counted breaths like the internet told me to. I whispered our inside joke, code word jalapeno, meaning breathe, not burn. She laughed and cried at the same time, which felt like a magic trick. If I'm honest, the first real crack was the way her mom hugged me. Too tight, too long, like a cast for a bone that hadn't broken yet. Her sister hovered with a clipboard she didn't need to hold. Family politeness stacked up around me like chairs on tables at closing time. I told myself I was projecting. I told myself I was tired. I told myself 20 things that sounded like lullabies. The inciting incident was a clerical thing, or that's how I'd label it now if I had to write it as a form. A lab tech dropped off the wrong envelope to the right nurse at the wrong time. The nurse read the note, went still, then glanced at me like someone watching a glass fall from a high shelf in slow motion. She excused herself, came back, and asked me to step into the hall to verify medical history. I said, sure, no problem. Do you need insurance again? She said, no, just a quick clarification. Back inside the room, my wife breathed and squeezed my fingers until my knuckles popped. I kissed her hairline and said, you're doing great. She smiled at me like a photograph and said, stay with me. Soft, but heavy. I promised I would. I meant it. I believed it. In the hallway, fluorescent lights buzzed like flies. The nurse lowered her voice and asked, do you have any blood disorders in your family? I shook my head. She asked a second question about something that didn't apply. Then she folded the chart closed like it was a secret she didn't want to see. Her eyes were kind. That made it worse. We'll talk in a minute, she said. I just want to make sure you're prepared. Prepared for what? The words floated above me, like helium balloons I couldn't pull down. I thought about the crib, the glow-in-the-dark stars, the strawberry shakes, the house full of future. I thought about Robbie's eyebrow. I thought about the text from Sam with a soup recipe I'd pretended to ignore. I went back into the room, took my wife's hand, and counted breaths. She looked at me between contractions with a gratitude so bright it hurt. I smiled back and did not look at the clock. If you've ever loved someone the way we learn to love daily, with dishes and errands and ordinary effort, you know how faith can be less a feeling and more a choice you renew. I renewed it again and again in that room that smelled like antiseptic and orange juice. I told myself one more hour and we'd be a family. I told myself even if something weird was happening, love could muscle through it. It felt noble. It felt adult. It felt like standing still on a bridge while you hear a truck coming and decide not to move because the view is beautiful. First try fail, denial, and the whispered warning. Labor stalled like a song skipping. The monitors beeped in a rhythm that made time feel elastic. A contraction would surge, then retreat like a wave that lost its nerve. The nurse, same one with the soft eyes, slipped to my side and said, barely moving her lips, can I verify a couple medical history items? In the hall, my wife's eyes grabbed mine. Don't go, she breathed. I kissed her forehead. 30 seconds, I promised. It tasted like a lie even as I said it. In the hallway, the nurse held the chart like it might burn her fingers. I'm going to ask this plainly, she said. What is your blood type? She served blood type, she said. What is your blood type? 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 Oh, positive, I answered. And your wife? A negative, I said, because we joked about her RH shot being her special juice. The nurse nodded once, then drew a slow breath. The newborn panel, she said carefully, flags incompatibilities that don't align with the recorded parental types. The sentence was gentle and clinical, and it punched me under the ribs. I'm not following, I said, though I was. She tapped the page with a pen, then didn't. There are markers that exclude you biologically. We always recheck to rule out clerical mistakes. But I need you to know we're not talking about a one-off. This is protocol. I rubbed my jaw like I could sand down reality. Run it again, I said. Of course, she said. We already did. The floor tilted. Somewhere inside the room, my wife groaned, and I flinched like my name had been called. Is there any possibility you've been told a different blood type? People mix them up, the nurse offered, giving me a rope I couldn't pretend to grab. No, I said. I donate. I thought of the Red Cross sticker on my toolbox. I thought of the keychain with my type stamped on it. I thought of Robbie's eyebrow again, now a neon sign. I swallowed. So what does this mean? She met my eyes without flinching. It means you deserve to hear the full scope from the attending. It also means we will document accurately. I'm sorry. Like a coward, my brain fled to errands. Call insurance. Check the parking meter. Text Robbie. If I stay busy in my head, the truth might not land. The nurse watched me tread water. I'm not here to blow up your family, she said quiet. I'm not here to blow up your family, she said quiet. I'm here to keep a baby safe and tell the right people the right things. You are one of those people. I nodded, emotion so small it barely counted. Flashbacks popped like grease in a pan. The work retreat in February I wasn't invited to because spouses are a distraction. The way she came back glowing and jumpy. The calendar dates that never lined up. Conception math I joked about and she laughed too hard at. Switching the topic to how cute tiny socks are. The prenatal yoga class that started, then got conveniently moved, then canceled, but our car still smelled like eucalyptus and someone else's cologne that I pretended was the studio. I heard my own voice from 2 months ago, easy and dumb, whatever works for you, babe. I want you to hear this before you decide anything, the nurse said. Wait until after delivery if that's what you need. Protect her experience if that's what you choose. But don't let anyone tell you you're imagining things. The data isn't ambiguous. In that moment, I hated the word data like it had teeth. I looked through the door window. My wife was breathing, eyes shut, squeezing a stress ball shaped like a lemon. I remembered buying it as a joke. It looked serious now, a weapon she was crushing to pulp. I'm not going to ruin the birth, I said, and my voice didn't sound like mine. I'm not going to be that guy. The nurse didn't challenge me. She just nodded like she'd seen 100 versions of me. Then let me do my job, she said. We'll keep this contained until the attending can speak with you. If anyone asks, I've told you to talk about insurance signatures. She glanced down the hall and back. You deserve informed consent too. Back inside, my wife squinted at me. What did she want? She asked, panting. I leaned close. Insurance, miss, I said lightly. You know how it is. Forms breeding forms. She tried to smile and didn't make it all the way. Stay with me, she said again, and I said, I'm here, like a pledge, like a dare. The contraction crested. I counted. In, 2, 3. Outed. In, 2, 3. Outed. She clutched my forearm. Hurts, she hissed. You're doing this, I said. Jalapeno. A laugh broke through her teeth despite herself, then shattered into a moan. The monitor hiccuped and a new nurse stepped in. Then the same nurse returned, a small rectangle hidden in her palm. She shifted to my side and adjusted a cord that didn't need adjusting. Under that cover, she pressed the card against my fingers. If you want the full truth, ask for Dr. R, she breathed, barely sound at all. The card was blank, but for a number and a name scratched in pen. R. Samuel's attending. My stomach felt like someone had swapped it for an elevator mid-fall. Who's Dr. R? I asked too loudly. The nurse met my gaze, neutral. R attending on this floor, she said for the room, professional as a page in a manual. My wife's eyes tracked between a manual. My wife's eyes tracked between beetle. My wife's eyes tracked between basement sounded and trunk. My wife's eyes tracked between souls of all that are on. My wife fastened with the hospital. What's happening? She asked. Nothing, I said, smiling with my teeth. They're just doing the dance. The word dance tasted like metal. The nurse's look said, you asked for 30 seconds. Your 30 seconds are up. Between contractions, time wobbled again. I texted Robbie with my thumb under the blanket. Something's off, I wrote, then deleted it, then wrote, might need you later. He replied instantly like he'd been waiting at a green light. I'm already in jeans. My wife watched my face like a lie detector. Who? She asked. Robbie, I said. He asked if we need anything. Her jaw tightened, then softened into a practiced smile. Tell him later, she said. After. Just stay. She closed her eyes, and I saw how tired she was, and for a second anger bowed before exhaustion. I told myself the nurse could be wrong. Labs can get mixed. Sample labels can smear. People named Sam can be women in prenatal yoga videos. The human mind is elastic. You can stretch over any chasm if you tie enough knots of maybe across it. I tied them all. I made a net of denial and lay down in it, swearing it was a hammock. Then the nurse's words replayed, not a one-off. Protocol. You deserve informed consent. The phrase hit me sideways. Informed consent wasn't just for epidurals and scalp electrodes. It was for fatherhood, for signing a certificate, for etching my name into a story that might not include my blood. The thought made my throat go dry. Another contraction. I coached. I helped. I was the guy I'd promised I'd be in the moments that mattered. The room smelled like antiseptic and fear disguised as citrus. I kissed her hairline. "You're brave," I whispered. That was true even if everything else was slipping. She opened her eyes and searched me like a map. "We're okay," she said. I said, "We're okay," back, and heard the echo wobble. When it ebbed, she asked again, too casual, "What did the nurse give you?" I blinked slow, brain stalling. "A pin," I said, lifting the bedside one like a prop. "The other one died." She watched me and nodded once, then closed her eyes, lies, like closed her eyes. Lied once, then closed her eyes like lighted once. Then closed her eyes, lies, like floated one. Watching ingen toasting blue within dust and flows raised like it'll read. I breathed, counted, breathed again. At the door, the nurse caught my eye and tilted her head toward the hall. A whisper carried across the space without moving air. "After delivery. Ask for Dr. R." She lingered one heartbeat, then melted into the corridor, leaving me with a card that weighed more than any ring I'd ever worn. Rising tension, cracks in the room. Contractions sharpened, like someone was ratcheting a belt, one notch tighter each time. My wife fixed on my face like it was a lighthouse. "Eyes here," she said through her teeth. "Not your phone." I slid the phone into my pocket like it had burned me. "I'm here," I said, and I meant it in the way a person means it while standing on a fault line. When she closed her eyes for a breath, I flicked the screen under the blanket anyway and thumbed a message to Ravi. "Something's off." He pinged back so fast it felt rehearsed. "You sure you want the truth today?" I stared at the words until they blurred. My thumb hovered. I typed, "Don't let me do something stupid." He wrote, "Define stupid." Then, "I'm 20 minutes away if you say the word." Two visitors came in on a whisper, her sister and her mom, wearing matching worry-like uniforms. Her sister planted herself at the bedside, hand on the rail, watching me like a TSA agent. Her mom did a loop around the room without meeting my eyes, rearranging flowers that didn't need rearranging. "How are we doing?" her sister asked, as if she were the coach and I was the hydration boy. "We're okay," I said, and the word we sounded like alone. My wife squeezed my fingers. "Hi, Mom," she breathed. Her mom dabbed her forehead with a damp cloth, all gentleness, all avoidance. "You're so strong," she said. The compliment landed heavy, like it was meant to cover more ground than sweat. I escaped to the vending machine under pretense of getting juice. The hallway homed. A guy with a cart of snacks rattled past, nodded at my wristband. "Big day," he said, like he'd seen 1,000 versions of me. I shoved the bills into the slot. The machine thought about it. He leaned his elbow on the cart. "You got Dr. R on this floor, right?" "Legend," he smirked. "People say he can land a baby with one hand and chart with the other." I forced a smile. "That right?" He jerked his chin toward the waiting area. "He's around. Saw him hugging that lady earlier." I followed his gaze, and there it was. Dr. R, white coat open, hugging my wife's sister like they were old friends. His hand on her shoulder beat longer than hello requires. My stomach did a slow roll. The soda clunked into the bin and sounded like a gavel. Back in the room, I handed my wife the bottle. "Sip," I said. She sipped, suspicious eyes on me. The nurse, my nurse, slid in quiet as a thought, checked the monitor, then leaned close enough for her breath to touch my ear. "You deserve informed consent too," she murmured. A reminder, a lifeline, a countdown. I nodded like my neck was rusted. Another contraction hit. My wife clawed at the rail, then grabbed my shirt. "Count," she demanded. I counted. In, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3. She focused on my mouth, not my words. When it ebbed, she slumped. "Sam says to hum," she muttered, eyes half closed. "Like a bee." The name slid out and hung between us. "Since when do you hum?" I asked, gentle. She blinked. "Yoga Sam," she said too fast, and then without thinking, she added, "You're okay, Rue?" The nickname landed like a slap in a quiet room. Only her yoga friend had called me that once, texting a thank you after I loaned my wife my car. I asked her then, and she said, "He's silly." Now it came from her mouth like a reflex. "Rue?" I repeated, light playing dumb, buying time. She winced. "Baby brain," she said, color rising. I meant babe. I smiled like I believed it. Inside, something small and stubborn sat down and refused to move. Her sister clocked the moment and stepped in hard. "Focus on the contraction curve," she said, pointing at the monitor, managing me out of the conversation. "Don't distract her." I looked at the green line like it was a lie detector. "I'm not," I said. "I'm helping." She smiled tightly. "Then help." The nurse adjusted the 4 and spoke to my wife, not to me. "You're progressing. It's just taking its time." Then, softer, for me alone, "We're still on track to talk before discharge." The words "before discharge" were a fuse. My wife's head turned. "Talk about what?" she asked. The nurse went neutral. "Standard education," she said. "Feeding, bleeding, sleeping." My wife's mouth pinched like a paperclip. My mother-in-law finally met my eyes. The look in hers was a plea or a warning, or both. She said she needs calm. I said, "I'm calm." My voice was level. My hands were white-knuckled on the bed rail. Another visitor poked a head in and then retreated. The room had started to feel like a revolving door I couldn't control. I texted Ravi again out of the sheet. "Do not comment unless I say." He sent back a thumbs up and a heart, a combination that would have made me laugh any other day. The nurse checked the machine paper, nodded, and stepped to the foot of the bed. "Let's try a new position," she suggested. "It might help the baby rotate." We maneuvered. My wife grimaced. I held the leg. Her sister held the other. We were a weird, silent team. When the contraction eased, my wife sagged, and I brushed hair from her face. "Almost there," I said. She stared up at me like she wanted to memorize my features. "Don't leave me," she whispered. I heard the underside of it. "Don't leave me now. Don't leave me later." I heard my own answer before I said it. "I'm here." The phone on the tray lit with a banner notification. Her sister saw it first, moved to block it with her hand, like she was shading her eyes from sun. Too late. I caught half a name, half symptoms or son. Too late. I caught half a name, a half, in son, and a stums. I caught half a name, half, ein and fus. I caught half a name, have you do the for Sam. I looked at my wife, not the phone. My wife looked at her sister, not me. A triangle of glances and a silent treaty I hadn't signed. As the nurse swapped a bag on the V-pole, she spoke softly without looking up. "If you feel dizzy or overwhelmed, step outside for a breath," she said. "No one will fault you." My wife huffed a bitter laugh. "He's fine," she said. The nurse glanced at me. Her face said, "Are you?" A beat of quiet. The hall outside erupted in a baby's first wail from another room, a happy exclamation mark we couldn't borrow. My wife rolled her shoulder, frowned. The tape at her ring finger had peeled back, exposing a faint pale band on her skin like a ghost of metal. For a half second, I didn't understand. Then I realized the ring hadn't been on her finger all morning. The mark was new, a thin, vacant circle. She never takes it off, I thought on autopilot, and then a memory intruded. 2 weeks ago, she'd come home with a red groove on her finger and said she'd taken the ring off at yoga because it was pinching. I had kissed the line and joked that marriage leaves marks. Now I stared at the paleness like it was fresh snowfall covering a road. I didn't know I'd been driving. "Everything okay?" I asked, too even. She slid her thumb over the mark like she could rub the absence away. "It itches," she said. Her sister's eyes cut to mine, daring me to make it more than that. I didn't. I swallowed the question and tasted metal. The nurse finished with the 4 and met my gaze for a half second that carried a paragraph. It said, "See what you see." It said, "You're not crazy." It also said, "Not yet." My wife pulled me closer by the wrist. "Rue," she whispered again, catching herself, correcting, "Babe." I kissed her forehead and felt how hot her skin was, how human and fragile, how nothing in this room would be simple again. I backed up enough to breathe. The soda from the machine sweated in my hand, and I hadn't even cracked it. The room was too bright. The air tasted like lemon and secrets. I closed my eyes for one long inhale, opened them, and did what I'd promised. I stayed. Second try fail, the birth and the lie. The room pitched into go time without asking me if I was ready. The nurse checked and said, "We're there. On your next contraction, we push." My wife locked onto me like a clip to a rope. "Count," she said. I nodded, pasted on the smile I'd practiced in the mirror of our life, and breathed with her. The first push hit like a wave that stole the shore. 1, 2, 3 push, I coached, my voice steady like a mem. She bore down, face flushed, breath hissing. I counted, numbered the seconds, gave her something to climb. The nurse said, good again. I said, "You've got this," and I meant it, and I didn't know what this was anymore. Between pushes, I kissed her temple. "You're strong," I whispered. She grabbed the rail and nodded a twitch. The next contraction slammed in. "Now," the nurse said. I counted again. 1, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3. Out, 2, 3. Ice, 2, 3. The room narrowed to the triangle of us, her, me, the nurse's voice. Everything else fell off the edge. I stole one glance at the clock and hated myself for it. Time had teeth. The nurse's earlier whisper ticked behind my eyes like a bomb no one could hear but me. "Results in an hour." I looked back at my wife, at the way her jaw clenched then shook, at the tendons in her neck like cords pulled taut. "Jalapeno," I said, and she laughed, a cracked sound that broke into a groan and carried her forward. The doctor arrived. Dr. R, white coat open, voice warm and competent like a radio host. "We're going to meet your baby," he said, the plural sticking to my skin. He didn't look at me long, just enough to register I existed. Then he turned focus to the field. My wife didn't see him, not really. She was inside to work. I felt heat rise under my collar anyway. Fury and fear braided tight. "Chin to chest," the nurse guided. "Push like you're blowing out a candle way across the room." My wife obeyed, a war cry caught under her breath. I held one leg, her sister held the other. I said, "You're almost there." She shouted, a sound that belonged to no one else on earth, and everything inside me rerouted to get her through. Then a shift. The doctor's voice changed to tambourade, and a shift the doctor's voice changed. Tambourade. "I see hair," he said. The room leaned in. Again. My wife pushed, body shaking. The nurse counted with me. A moment stretched like taffy, then snapped. The baby slithered into the world in a slick rush, a sound like summer rain and torn paper all at once. A first cry cut the air, bright and furious. Relief drowned me. It rose up so fast it made me choke. The cry punched a hole through my chest and light fell in. I started laughing and crying the same instant, the kind of mess people make when something impossible becomes real. "We did it," my wife sobbed, gasping. "We did it." I heard it, and I also heard a second note under it, a guilty tremor no one else would clock. I felt it anyway. The baby lay on her chest, purple pink, perfect, making soft protesting sounds at the cold. I put my hand on her back so small it fit my palm like an egg, so small it fit my palm like an egg, like palm, like an egg, and all my palm like an egg. Warmth seeped into my skin. I fell in love in a heartbeat with someone who owed me nothing and everything. The universe tilted and threatened to settle in a new position. The thought tried to rise. I am a father, and the other thought shoved it. I might not be. I held both like a man balancing a tray in a moving train. Delayed cord clamp, the nurse said, a language I'd learned in YouTube videos at 2 in the morning. The doctor clipped and handed me scissor, and handed me scissor, handed me scissor to me, Benny. It felt ceremonial. "Dad," he offered, tone generous, the word hitting a raw nerve. My hand didn't tremble, the rest of me did. I cut, the sound of soft, final snap. The nurse smiled at my wife. "Great job." "Newborn tests," the nurse added, professional again. "Vitamin K? Ointment? We can do them here." My wife turned her face away, tears shining, and snapped, "Do what you need." The edge surprised me, like she was allergic to questions, like consent felt like a trap. The nurse clocked it and stayed measured. "We'll be gentle," she said. "Can I hold?" I started and didn't finish. The nurse understood. "Of course," she said, and lifted the baby to me like I was a sacred but fragile vessel. The weight landed in my arms. Everything slowed. The baby blinked like a tiny old soul and scrunched a face that looked like nobody and everybody. My hands shook anyway. Father and stranger, both truths in the same skin. "Hey," I whispered, voice gone small. "Hey, star." My wife watched me, something like awe and something like dread tangled in her eyes. I swayed without thinking. The baby settled, breath a feather. That switch inside me, protect, love, build, flipped on and flooded the room. Then the nurse touched my elbow. "We'll do a quick panel at the warmer," she said. "Routine." Her eyes added, "and not routine." She held my gaze 1 second too long, then took the baby toward the corner, humming something soft. I bent and kissed my wife's forehead. "We're okay," I told her, because I had sworn I would protect the moment. The words felt like scaffolding around a building with a cracked foundation. She nodded, tears sliding into hair. "We did it," she repeated, then pinched her mouth like her own words hurt. At the warmer, the baby let out a protest squawk and then quieted. The nurse worked fast, efficient, narrating for the room. "Apgars are good. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a strong set of lungs." She swaddled like an origami master. The doctor murmured something to a resident and stepped out with a promise to check back. I watched him leave, a smear of white coat and authority, and tasted bitterness I didn't order. The room softened around the edges. My wife's sister fussed with the blanket. Her mom dabbed another cloth at a temple that didn't need dabbing. I stayed by my wife, letting the quiet do what it could. "You okay?" I asked low. "Exhausted," she said. "Happy." She chewed the last word like it had gristle. I didn't press. The nurse returned with the baby. "Skin to skin again," she suggested, and placed the bundle back on my wife's chest. Then she leaned, a whisper slipping under the beeps. "Results in an hour." She said it like a weather report scheduled to ruin a picnic. I nodded once, a movement so small it could be mistaken for a breath. Trapped between truth and love, I chose a third thing, time. I wiped my face with the heel of my hand and put on my best husband voice. "Your hair is ridiculous," I told my wife, smiling crooked, like a rock star who lost a fight with a fan. She laughed, startled and grateful, swore at me, then kissed the baby's damp head. The laugh steadied me. The swear grounded me. The illy, the on soft steadied me. The swear grounded me. The horny, Then we floated there, 3 people and a nurse and a ticking clock. I told a story about the vending machine eating my dollar, embellished the drama, made her sister crack a smile despite herself. I talked about the glow-in-the-dark stars waiting on the nursery ceiling. I fed the moment like a fire that might go out if I stopped. Every sentence was a sandbag against a flood I couldn't see yet but felt in my bones. The hour became a living thing in the room. The nurse documented, quiet, exact, a metronome in human form. My wife's breathing slowed. The baby hiccuped, a tiny perfect misfire that made us all laugh. For a stretch of minutes, life looked exactly like the picture we'd painted, all soft edges and dumb jokes and firsts. The nurse checked her watch, then me. A nod barely there. I swallowed, smoothed the blanket, kissed my wife's hair again. "We're okay," I said one more time, and hoped some part of it stuck. Escalation, the paper and the name. Family poured in like a parade no one invited. Balloons squeaked against the ceiling, flowers found surfaces, and I smiled too hard, jaw tight enough to chip a tooth. Everyone wanted pictures. Everyone wanted the happy script. Her mom hovered with the phone. Her sister curated angles. Her cousin arranged a teddy bear for maximum adorableness. I said yes to everything and committed to nothing. "He looks like you," someone said. I said maybe and stuck to neutral ground like it was high ground. Her phone buzzed on the tray. I wasn't looking for it. I was watching my wife kiss the baby's tiny nose. Still, the screen lit my vision. "Proud of you. Call me." The name below it hit like a symbol, Dr. Sam R. I swallowed a sound that wasn't words. Her sister grabbed the phone with a chirpy, "Let me silence that," and tucked it into her pocket like a magician hiding a rabbit. Robbie slipped into the doorway, eyes scanning, reading the room the way he reads a chessboard. He met my gaze, tilted his head toward the hall, mouthed, "You want out?" I shook my head. "Not yet." He leaned against the doorframe, the human version of a spare tire, reassuring, not flashy, exactly what you need when a nail finds you. The nurse came back with a clipboard and the same steady eyes. "I need a couple signatures for newborn protocols," she said, voice smooth as a hallway. She set the form in front of me and my stomach fell through the earth. The word wasn't a word, it was a trapdoor. I didn't breathe. Her sister clocked it and reached for the board. "Clerical error," she said, a laugh bolted onto her face. "Let's not be dramatic." My wife reached too, tore her gaze from the baby, forced a chuckle. "Yeah, fix it later," she said, like the paperwork was a misprinted menu. "He's the dad." She looked at me, eyes begging me to sign our mutual fiction. I played dumb, because dumb can be armor. "We'll fix it later," I said lightly, holding the pen without lowering it. My eyes asked a different sentence. "Explain this." The nurse didn't flinch. "We will correct when medically appropriate," she said, careful, neutral. Her gaze flicked to me and back. "For now, we'll proceed with mother's consent." My father edged in behind. Ravi, a quiet shadow with a proud smile he'd saved for this day. He clapped my shoulder and whispered, "You good?" I nodded in a shape that could be anything. He held the baby a second later, big hands, gentle, face cracking open like dawn. I had to look away. The nurse wasn't done. "There's also a brief meeting we need to schedule with the attending before discharge," she said, eyes on the form. "Standard review." My wife bristled like a cat. "Can't we just rest?" she said. The nurse smiled. "Of course. It will be brief." She tore a carbon copy and slid it into a folder. The word attending hung between us like a spider. My wife's phone buzzed again from her sister's pocket. The sister excused herself to the hall with a smile that looked like a lid hammered onto a boiling pot. My wife blew out a breath, then pasted a grin back on. "Let's do pictures," she said brightly. "Group shot." We stacked into frame life-size. My dad put an arm around me. Her mom angled her chin, chasing her good side. Robbie took the photo and didn't add a joke, which meant he understood this wasn't a joke. I looked at the baby instead of the lens and felt the whole world shift again. Love is stubborn. It doesn't take data into account at first. It just looks at tiny fingers and loses the plot. After the flash, the nurse returned with a plastic box and a gentle cough. Heel prick, bilirubin scan, and a quick footprint, she said. Then I'll get out of your way. I watched the nurse's hands and not my wife's face. The baby squawked and settled. The nurse cooed, wrote numbers like they were coordinates, and kept time with quiet hums. Her cousin sidled up with a goofy grin. "To new beginnings," he whispered, like the toast at the shower, but now his eyes flicked away fast, like he'd stepped on glass. I let it pass. The room was a pond. Every movement made ripples. My wife shifted, winced, closed her eyes. "I'm starving," she murmured. Her mom offered a container of cut fruit like it was a peace treaty. She took a strawberry, bit down, and the red juice looked like a crime scene to my stretched brain. "Good?" I asked. She nodded, then asked her mom to check with the nurse about pain meds. The ask was casual and wrong. She knew how these rooms worked. She never ceded control like that. Robbie drifted closer. "Water?" he asked me, too innocent. I followed him to the sink like I needed to task. He spoke low, eyes on the faucet. "Do you want me to take your dad for coffee?" he asked. "Give you a minute?" I shook my head. "Not yet." He nodded. "I'm here." He didn't say, "Tell me when to swing." He didn't have to. When we turned back, the nurse held a small envelope, sealed, her expression professional. "This is the copy of routine labs for the pediatrician," she said, like she was reciting a script. The envelope sat in my palm like a hot coal. "Keep it for your records." Her eyes said, "This is not the record." Wait. Her sister reappeared, empty-handed, cheeks pink. "Parking meter," she chirped, too bright. My wife glanced at her. A whole conversation passed between them in a blink. I saw it like lightning. Fear, planned, denial, pretend. The baby made a squeaky hiccup and my heart tripped over itself to respond. I took a step, stopped. The nurse tucked the blanket, then stood straighter. "Let's plan for the attending consult this evening," she said, cheerfully blank. Before discharge, the words fired like a starter pistol. My wife's head snapped toward her. "Tonight?" The nurse smiled. "Just to answer questions." She looked at me. "It'll be clear." A visitor from the hall asked if anyone wanted coffee. Half the room said yes to be polite. I said no. I needed my hands empty. I stared at the unknown on the form until it burned into my eyelids. I didn't sign. My wife watched me not sign and swallowed it down with her fruit. The baby yawned, a little elastic face, and the entire room cooed like a chorus. For a few seconds, the audience forgot their lines. For a few seconds, I did too. Then the phone buzzed again in the sister's pocket, a muted insect begging to be crushed. She pressed her palm to it and smiled at me with all her teeth. The nurse gathered her things, then paused. "Any questions before I go?" she asked, looking at no one and everyone. I opened my mouth and closed it. My wife's hand found mine and squeezed hard, harder than any contraction grip. "We're fine," she said, the words brittle. The nurse nodded, not fooled, and left us to our performance. When the door clicked, the room exhaled. My dad cleared his throat, already framing how he'd tell this day later. My mom-in-law wiped at imaginary spills. Robbie stood behind me like a wall. I softened my smile and let the corners drop a degree. "We'll fix it later," I repeated, to no one in particular, and to the paper that didn't care. My wife said, "Right," and didn't blink. The clock on the wall ticked like it was counting down to something only 3 of us knew was coming. I took the baby's foot between my fingers, tiny and perfect, and wondered how anyone survives being 2 people at once. Third try fail, the private meeting. They paged me to a tiny conference room that smelled like coffee and printer ink. The nurse stood by the door, palms flat on a folder. Dr. R waited at the head of the table, white coat, crisp, jaw set. My wife hovered near the chair but refused to sit, arms crossed like armor. I closed the door behind me and felt it like a heavy lid. The nurse started, voice even. "We cannot falsify medical documentation." She didn't look at me like a problem. She looked at me like a person. Dr. R shifted into neutral professional mode. "We need to clarify paternity for the infant's chart," he said. "Accuracy prevents treatment errors." It sounded like a policy, and it was. It also sounded like a trap. I stared at the folder. "Open it," I said. The nurse flipped it and slid a lab page forward. Rows of numbers, markers, letters I'd seen in documentaries but never owned. She tapped a line with a capped pen. "This is the exclusion marker," she said. "We rear-end to rule out clerical error. The results are consistent." The phrase landed like a verdict. It's definitive. My throat clicked when I tried to swallow. "So I'm not." I stopped. The word father felt too sacred to say in a room like this. "Biologically, no," the nurse said gently. "Legally, that's a separate process, but medically, we document what is true." She didn't soften the truth. She softened the landing. My wife exhaled hard, anger disguised as exhaustion. "We were on a break," she blurted, loud in the small room. "He knew." My head turned slow. "I knew what?" I asked. My voice sounded like it had walked through gravel. Her chin lifted like she could stare me into agreement. "You said you needed space in February," she said. I took space. I blinked. February was our anniversary month. We took the coastal trip with the motel that pretended to be romantic by hanging fairy lights over a parking lot. I looked at Dr. R and saw a hairline crack in the professional mask. He cleared his throat. "We should keep this focused on medical documentation," he said carefully. It was the kind of sentence people use when the truth is chewing through a door. "Focused," I repeated. I pointed at the page. "Focus says not me." The nurse didn't flinch. My wife pivoted faster than a dancer. "He's being dramatic," she said, to the nurse, to the room, to herself. We were separated. I stared at her, then let the silence do its work. She filled it. "Just for a week," she added quickly. It was confusing. Dr. R slipped without meaning to. "Given the timeline," he said, eyes on the paper, "conception likely occurred around the second week of February." He didn't look at me. He didn't have to. The second week of February, we were eating cupcakes at a roadside bakery and laughing at a metal rooster in a yard. The second week of February, I bought her a cheap ring at a gas station as a joke to stack with her real one, and she wore it all day like a kid. My chest went hollow. I tried for dignity. I aimed for it the way you aim for the bathroom in the dark, hands out, praying you don't hit a wall. I'm going to keep my voice low for everyone, but answer me cleanly. My voice still cracked on cleanly. I pointed out the page again. "Whose baby is this?" The room held its breath. Dr. R blinked. He didn't deny. He didn't confirm. He stared at the laminate, then at my wife. She stared back, then at me. "It's complicated," she said, as if that word were a fog machine she could fill the room with. The nurse cut through the fog. "Complicated does not change lab results," she said quietly. I looked at Dr. R longer than was polite. "Are you the father?" I asked. He flinched, just a twitch, then reached for professional distance like a life jacket. "We're not here to establish legal paternity," he said. "We are here to ensure safe care." I almost admired the dodge. Almost. A memory shoved itself into the room. The vending machine guy calling him a legend. The hug with my wife's sister, the ring mark, newly pale. The puzzle pieces stopped pretending they were from different boxes. They clicked. "Okay," I said, and the words scraped my throat. "Here's what's going to happen. I will not sign a certificate. I will not be listed anywhere until the lawyer reviews every sheet of paper. I won't interfere with care. I also won't be a rubber stamp for a lie." The nurse nodded once like a metronome. Dr. R folded his hands. My wife's eyes sparked. "Think of the baby," she said, "the oldest spell." "I am," I said, and my voice steadied. "That's why I'm not signing my name to someone else's life." Tears glazed her eyes and then vanished behind anger. "You're gonna blow up my birth," she spat. The unfairness of that sentence made something in me laugh. The unfairness of that sentence made something in me laugh. In me laugh at the stone. The on that to sponge. The why something in me laugh. It wasn't kind. It wasn't loud. It was tired. "I didn't bring a match," I said. "You did." The nurse laid a plain, small box on the table. "We keep chain of custody kits for cases like this," she said. "If you want legal confirmation, we can swab now if witness signatures. It won't go in the hospital record. It will be yours." Her voice was neutral. Her eyes were not. They told me, "Take this rope." My wife's head snapped toward her. "You can't do that," she said. The nurse didn't blink. "We can provide resources," she answered. "We cannot and will not falsify. We can also give you contact for the patient advocate to ensure everyone's rights are respected." The words patient advocate landed in the room like a referee. Dr. R cleared his throat again. "I'm sorry for the distress," he said, as if he had knocked over a water glass. "Our concern is your partner's recovery and the infant's health. The rest can be handled outside this facility." I studied his face for a flicker of human, found a shadow of it, then watched it retreat behind training. I stepped back from the table to breathe. The ceiling tile above me had a coffee-colored stain that looked like a map of a country no one visits on purpose. I remembered the crib we built at 3 a.m, the glow stars, the late-night chips, the way she'd call me Rue in this very day like a thread tied to somewhere else. I gripped the back of a chair until my knuckles went white, and then let go. "Here's my ask," I said. "We keep this conversation out of the room with our families until I decide how to say it. We treat her with dignity. We treat the baby with gold, but we do not pretend on paper or gold, but we do not pretend on paper or gold mud, but we do not pretend on paper, but we do not pretend on paper if it's dawn, but we do not pretend on paper or bang." The nurse nodded immediately. Dr. R inclined his head, a king granting a token. My wife closed her eyes. "You're punishing me," she whispered. "No," I said. "I'm stopping the punishment of me." She opened her eyes again and tried a softer tactic. "Please," she said, voice small. "We can fix this. Just sign. We'll figure it out later." I didn't trust my mouth, so I shook my head. Later had become a lie factory. I was out of stock. The nurse unsnapped the swab kit. "We can do this quickly," she said. "A cheek swab from the infant, from you, and from the alleged father if he consents." The word alleged made Dr. R stiffen. He looked at the door, then at the nurse. For a second, the power balance seesawed. The nurse didn't budge. "Consent?" she repeated. He hesitated, then nodded once, a small admission hiding inside a bigger refusal. My wife grabbed the box and pushed it back across the table. "Not here," she said. "Not now." The nurse left it where it was. "It's available," she replied. "That's all." The room listened to the air vents for a moment. I took a breath that hurt and squared my shoulders. "I'm going to walk out of here and keep my voice quiet," I said. "But I won't lie when asked direct questions. If you want me to protect the story, give me a story that's true." My wife's mouth trembled. "It's you and me," she said, as if saying it made it so. I thought about the pale ring mark, the texts, the months of odd breezes. "It was," I said, "and then it wasn't." She looked like I dropped her. Dr. R looked at his hands. The nurse looked at me like a person who holds a flashlight when you ain't a person who holds a flashlight when you're in the phone. The nurse looked at me like a person who holds a flashlight when you're old. "We're done for now," the nurse said, practical. "We'll continue care. We'll document accurately. If you want the patient advocate, I'll page them." I nodded. "Page them," I said, "and thank you." She inclined her head. Dr. R stood, tugged his coat, and said to my wife, "We'll check your vitals in 20. He didn't meet my eyes on his way out. That honesty, at least, I respected. I opened the door and stepped back into the hallway that had no idea how different it looked from 10 minutes ago. My phone buzzed. Ravi, aw. I texted back, not yet. Then I slid the swab kit into my jacket pocket like a talisman and went to tell a room full of people nothing at all for now. Fallout. The room erupts. I walked out of the tiny conference room with my face rearranged into neutral and a storm in my pocket. Our families were spread through the doorway like an audience waiting for a curtain to rise. My dad straightened when he saw me. Her mom stood, hands clasped like prayer without the words. Faces searched mine for good news and met a wall. Her sister took 2 quick steps like a bouncer. "Let's give Mom some rest," she said, angling her body to block me. I sidestepped gently, not touching, just enough to make it clear I was done being handled. "I'll be quick," I said. My voice was even. Even scared me more than shouting. I didn't announce anything. I reached into my jacket and pulled the paper the nurse had given me earlier, the carbon copy with the section that mattered. I handed it to my mother-in-law without ceremony. She took it like it was a casserole dish, and then saw the words and forgot how to hold. Her eyes flicked through lines and stopped on unknown. She went very still. Then the silence detonated. "What is this?" she whispered, which was louder than a shout. Her sister stepped in fast. My father looked at me like a man checking the horizon for a storm he can't see yet. "Son?" he asked. I shook my head once. It felt like dropping a bridge into a canyon. He looked wrecked and older in a heartbeat. Ravi appeared at my shoulder, solid as a post. He didn't touch me. He didn't need to. He just stood, angled to take some of the blast if it came our way. The room seemed to tilt. I could hear the faint squeal of a wheelchair down the hall, the microwave in the nurse's station dinging something cheerful. The world continued with bad timing. My wife pushed the door open with more force than she had, stormed in riding a wave of adrenaline and accusation. She saw the paper in her mother's hands, saw the faces, and flipped the script so fast the air bent. "He's being dramatic," she said, breathless. "We were separated. He said he needed space." She delivered it like a fact she had always believed. Ravi didn't try to untangle the lie pile. He asked one question, tone so mild it almost floated. "When did you tell him?" The room froze like someone yanked the cord on a ceiling fan. My wife's mouth opened and found no words, then reshaped into indignation. "This is my birth," she said. "You don't get to hijack it." Her cousin, who had been pretending to be a fern in the corner, cracked under pressure. "It was supposed to stay secret," he blurted, then slapped a hand over his mouth like he could shove the sentence back in. Everyone turned toward him like a flock pivoting midair. He stared at his shoes, cheeks on fire. The secret wasn't a secret anymore. It was a spill spreading across the floor. My mother-in-law's knees bent like they'd remembered gravity late. She sat hard in the visitor chair and didn't blink. The paper trembled in her hand. My dad put a cautious hand on my shoulder, then took it back like he wasn't sure if contact would hold me together or break me. Her sister moved into crisis PR. "This is not the time," she said crisp, like she was scheduling a meeting. "We will discuss later." "It is the time for accuracy," I said, and even I heard how cold my voice had gone. "I'm not raising my voice. I'm not making a scene. I'm correcting a record." I glanced at the bassinet and lowered my tone another notch. "And I'm making sure the baby gets the right medical care." My wife's eyes were wet and furious. "How dare you do this here?" she hissed. "How dare you?" The absurdity of that nearly knocked me sideways. "Here?" I said, "where the truth lives on paper." I could hear Ravi inhale. He knew that line was a blade. Her sister shook her head. "He's twisting everything. You said you needed space?" She took space. You can't weaponize a timeline. Ravi lifted a hand, palm out. "When did she tell him?" he repeated, same gentle tones, same surgical cut. The question sat in the room like a lit candle. No one would blow out. No one answered. The baby hiccuped, An innocent metronome. My mother-in-law finally stood, paper in hand, and turned to her daughter. "Is this true?" she asked, voice flat with something like shock and something like old suspicion resurfacing. My wife broke into sobs that were part grief, part theater, part exhaustion. "I didn't want to ruin today," she said, choking. "I was going to tell him later." Robbie's eyebrows lifted a millimeter. "When later?" he asked. "After he signed?" The words landed heavy. Her cousin made a small, trapped sound. Her sister stepped in front of my wife like body armor. "Enough," she snapped. "Everyone out." My dad cleared his throat and aimed for dignity. "We'll give you a minute," he said, speaking to me, not them. "But I'm not leaving you alone in this." It was both a promise and an apology for not knowing sooner. I nodded at him, and it felt like nodding at a lighthouse. "Thanks, I still have to swim." The nurse appeared at the edge of the storm with the patient advocate, both wearing the calm you put on like a uniform when rooms do what they do. "We're going to set some boundaries," the nurse said, calm, firm. "Mother needs rest. Infant needs a low-stimulation environment. Conversations about legal documentation will happen outside the room." She said it to the room and to me like a rope tossed to both sides. Her sister bristled. "She's fine," she said. "We're family." The advocate smiled with steel. "And we'll keep it that way by preventing harm," she said. "Let's step into the lounge." It was presented as an option. It wasn't one. My wife made a sound that could have been relief or protest. I didn't try to decode it. We migrated in a messy procession. The lounge had bad art and good coffee. I stood near the window that looked over the parking lot where cars slid in and out, ignorant of our little war. My dad hovered. Ravi found a corner that let him see every exit like he was wired for it. Her family clustered with the defensive gravity of a huddle. Her sister started in before anyone else. "You can't humiliate her," she said. "You can't make this a public spectacle." "I'm not making anything," I said. "I'm refusing to be drafted as a prop." Ravi gave a small, approving snort and stared at the floor. My mother-in-law, still pale, looked at me with a mix of pity and calculation. "What do you want?" she asked. Relief hit me because finally someone asked a question with an end. "Accuracy," I said. "No signatures with my name, a plan for who is responsible, and no more lying to my face while asking me to hold the camera." Her cousin spoke, surprising himself as much as anyone. "He's right," he muttered, then winced at his own bravery. Her sister glared him into silence. "You don't get a vote," she snapped. She didn't need to. Everyone in that room could fill the sentence with their own bias-mad libs. Ravi cut through. "Mistake is dropping a glass," he said. "This is a plan." He gestured loosely at the day, like he was pointing out the architecture of a trap. Her sister inhaled a retort. The advocate raised a hand. "Let's keep to practicals," she said. "Hospital records will reflect unknown paternity until legally established. Discharge will proceed with mother as sole signer. Any financial responsibility beyond standard coverage falls outside our scope." She looked from me to my wife. "You two need to decide what happens at home, not here." There was a beat where everyone wanted to argue with a wall and realized it wouldn't move. I let the quiet expand, then planted this seed that would grow into my spine later. "There will be a call on speaker," I said, tone even, "with the person who needs to answer one question. But not here. Later, with both families present." Her sister opened her mouth to say no. My wife touched her arm. "Not now," she whispered hoarse. My dad stepped close, eyes wet and steady. "I'm proud of you," he said under his breath. It was the strangest, kindest sentence he could have chosen. It made the ground under me stop wobbling for a second. We trickled back to the room at the nurse's nod, voices lower, edges tucked in by policy and fatigue. I stood at the threshold, watched my wife sleeping with the baby tucked like a comma against her. The sight almost undid me. Love is stupid that way. It comes back to the scene of the crime and still wants to clean the floor. Her mom handed me the paper back like it was toxic and sacred at once. Don't leave her, she whispered, plea and command tangled. I met her eyes. I won't leave her alone, I said. I'll leave the lie. She flinched like I'd slapped her, then nodded once, slow, the first small crack in a wall built over months. The clock clicked forward. We settled into a holding pattern that looked like family and felt like a standoff. I practiced breathing like a standoff. I practiced breathing. Robbie practiced patience. The nurse practiced mercy by checking vitals with the quiet of a thief. And somewhere in the building, a phone with a name on it waited to be put on speaker. The counter move, calm, cold, legal. I woke up inside my own body like I'd been away for a day. The room was quiet, the baby doing soft squeaks, my wife asleep in that heavy post-storm way. I slipped into the hall and texted the nurse, "Thank you." She replied a minute later, "You deserve truth." My thumb hovered, then I typed, "I need the patient advocate." She sent, "On the way." I stood by the window and watched the parking lot. Cars moved, oblivious. Ravi slid up next to me with 2 coffees. "You good to switch gears?" he asked. I nodded, the kind of nod that moves your whole life 1 degree. "I'm not signing anything," I said low. "Not until counsel reviews it." He handed me a cup like a baton. "Then we get counsel." He pulled out his phone and called a lawyer I've only heard about when people say the phrase, "Oh, he's sharp." He said my name, then hospital, paternity, immediate guidance. He listened and wrote 3 bullet points on a napkin. Do not sign. Get chain of custody kit. Request patient advocate note. He slid it to me. "You're driving now," he said. The advocate arrived with a calm smile and the posture of a wall. We stepped into the lounge. "Walk me through your goals," she said, pen ready. "Accuracy," I said. "Delay anything legal until counsel. Ensure notes reflect unknown paternity. Keep care moving without me as signer. Boundaries for family." She nodded like I was reading a list she'd handed me. "Done," she said. "We'll chart that father declines, signing pending counsel. Mother may sign for routine newborn care. We'll restrict visitors at your request." "Financials?" I asked. "Billing follows insurance on file," she said. "Changes can be handled post-discharge. If there's an alternate responsible party, that's outside our scope, but your counsel will advise. We will document your position." I exhaled. The sound felt like a valve turning. Back in the room, my wife stirred. "Where were you?" she asked, voice gravel. I set the coffee down. "Talking to the patient advocate," I said. "I'm not signing anything." Her mouth tightened. "Think of the baby," she said. "I am," I answered. "That's why documentation must be accurate. That's why I'm not leaving you without care." She looked at me like I'd turned into someone she didn't recognize and didn't like. Maybe both were true. Her mom bristled at the foot of the bed. "He's being punitive," she said to the room. I didn't take the bait. "I'm being precise," I said. "That keeps everyone safer." The nurse came in with vitals and the face of Switzerland. "We'll proceed with mother's consent," she said, making it official. My wife nodded, a small, resentful frown. Ravi tapped his phone and handed me a Bluetooth earpiece like I was suddenly in a thriller. "Lawyer," he mouthed. I took the call, voice low by the window. The lawyer's tone was clean, surgical. "Do not sign birth certificate. Request chain of custody DNA kit witnessed by staff. Get names and roles of everyone present at the meeting. Document your refusal in writing and request a copy for records." I scribbled on the napkin like it was a contract. "Prenup?" he asked. "There's an infidelity clause," I said, the words tasting like old foresight. "Asset protection, paternity requirements." He hummed, pleased. "Then timing matters. Do not cohabit post-discharge. Do not hold yourself out as father. No social media statements. Gather texts. Screenshot everything. I'll file for annulment on grounds of fraud and inducement of marriage and paternity misrepresentation. We'll move for a temporary restraining order on dissipation of assets if needed. Calm and cold, like he was reading a weather forecast I could actually use. I thanked him. He said, I'll email a template statement for the hospital. The email arrived with the efficiency of a guillotine. I showed it to the advocate. She read, nodded, printed it on hospital letterhead, and had me sign the bottom. I declined to sign any paternity documentation pending legal counsel and DNA confirmation. Reason, medical and legal accuracy. She countersigned and stamped it. The stamp sound felt like a door locking behind me in a good way. I forwarded the template to my own email, then to a folder labeled Today, which felt both dramatic and functional. Ravi hovered, reading my face. We're building a record, I said. We're stopping the story from rewriting itself. He grinned, dark joy. Now you're speaking my language. I texted the nurse, can we do chain of custody now? She replied, yes. Meet me at nursery window in 10. I turned to my wife. I'm doing a legal DNA, I said. For clarity. She scoffed. You don't trust me. I didn't put a bow on it. No, I said. I trust math. She flinched, then tried soft again. We can fix this. Just don't make it worse. I looked at the baby, not at her. Worse is pretending. Then I left, quiet, and walked the 10 steps that felt like a mile. At the nursery window, the nurse had the kit laid out with chain of custody forms. Another nurse signed as second witness. Cheek swab for infant, she said, gentle, professional. Swab for you. We'll hold alleged father's swab pending his consent. She didn't look at the door. She didn't need to. The implication sat between us like a chair no one used. She labeled each tube with time, date, initials, my driver's license number, the infant's medical record. She sealed with tamper tape. I signed the custody line. She signed beneath me. She wrote, sample to be released to requesting party's designated lab, hospital not responsible for analysis. Keep it cold, she advised. Don't open the seal. Your lawyer will handle the rest. Me? I asked. She tilted her head, then smiled without showing teeth. Because consent cuts both ways, she said, and because I hate watching people get steamrolled by systems or by lies. I nodded, throat tight. If you ever need a witness, she added, I was in that meeting. The folded note she pressed into my palm earlier felt heavier in my pocket. Back in the room, her sister paced with the phone glued to her hand like she could text reality into compliance. My wife watched me like the jury had returned. What now? She asked. I set the sealed envelope in my bag, zipped it, and Saturday, now we wait for counsel, I said. We proceed with care. We set boundaries. I looked at her sister. No more intercepting her phone. Her sister bristled. Mind your tone. I didn't change it. No more intercepting, I repeated. That includes calls from Dr. Sam R. Her mother gasped at the name. My wife closed her eyes, busted. You're humiliating me, she said. No, I answered. I'm naming who should be responsible. The room went quiet except for the baby's small sounds. The advocate reappeared to review discharge steps. Mother signs for infant's care, she recited. No father listed at this time. We'll provide the paternity acknowledgement form to you, but you are declining for now. That will be noted. She handed me a copy of my own refusal on hospital letterhead. It felt like a shield. Ravi leaned in. Assets, he murmured. I took my phone and revoked joint access to the house account. I paused automatic transfers. I changed the safe code. I saved screenshots of everything, notifications, the unknown on the form, the texts. I emailed them to a new address with a password only Ravi and I knew. Safety doesn't feel heroic. It feels administrative. It also feels like oxygen. My wife reached for a different play. Can we at least do the certificate later? She asked, fragile. When you've calmed down? I met her eyes. Later is how we got here, I said. Later means I sign and lose leverage. I'm not doing that. Her face went cool. You always did love rules more than people, she snapped. The line landed like it had been waiting. I let it pass. Rules keep people from drowning, I said. Right now, I ain't on a dock. I stepped into the hall and texted the nurse another thanks. She sent back a single line, "You're doing the hard part." Then, after a beat, "The baby is okay." I leaned my head against the cool wall and let that sentence wash me. The baby is okay. Maybe I wasn't a father in the way I wanted, but I could still be a man who didn't light fires on a neonatal floor. That counted for something. I straightened, pocketed the paperwork, and walked back in with my voice set to steady. "Here's the plan," I said quietly to the room. "Counsel reviews everything. Dr. R will be asked one question on speaker with both families present. We keep the baby's world calm. We keep the paper world honest. And I won't sign a single lie." Ravi grinned like someone had just sunk a clean shot. My dad nodded like a benediction. My wife looked away. I texted the nurse one more time, "Please page Dr. R for a boundary statement." She replied, "On my way." When she arrived, she read a short policy about professional ethics and conflict of interest precautions. Dr. R wasn't there to hear it, but the room did, and the room changed temperature. I sat, folded the refusal copy into my wallet next to a photo from the baby shower where we looked like an advertisement for happiness, and waited for the next move with my dignity unspooling like a rope I finally remembered how to hold. The public confrontation, truth on speaker. I waited until shifts changed, when the room thinned and everyone's edges softened. Then I said, "We're doing the call now." Her sisters started to protest. I held up a hand. One question, on speaker. Then we stop. I turned to my wife. "Call him." She stared at the blanket. But no, I nodded once. "Then I'll do it." Ravi placed my phone in my palm like a gavel. I scrolled to the number stamped in my brain. I hit call and toggled speaker. The room fell into a hush that felt like church and courtroom at once. He answered on the second ring, voice smooth. "This is Dr. Sam." I kept my tone white glove clean. "This is the husband in 3B. We met earlier." A pause, a shift. "Yes," he said carefully. "How can I help?" I didn't waste the room's oxygen. "One question," I said. "Are you the father of the child born today to my wife?" The baby made a tiny sound, a punctuation mark. He heard it. Silence stretched. You could hear the HVAC. He reached for a Dodge, then didn't find one. "I should not discuss personal matters on an open line," he said. I stayed gentle like a blade wrapped in velvet. "So, that's a yes." He went quiet, then exhaled. "Yes," he said small. The word landed like a stamp on wet paper. The room breathed out like a wound. Her mother sat down fast, color leaving her face. My dad closed his eyes once. Her sister stiffened like she'd been hit and refused to fall. My wife swallowed with an audible click, then looked at the wall. "Thank you," I said. "Now that we have clarity, here's what happens. You and my wife will handle all medical and financial responsibilities related to prenatal care, delivery, and newborn follow-up. I won't obstruct care. I also won't be listed as anything." He tried to reclaim a position. "You can't dictate hospital billing," he said. "Insurance," I cut, still calm. "I'm not dictating. I'm documenting. Counsel will direct the rest." I ignored her. I continued, steady. "I have a chain of custody kit. Your sample will be requested by counsel. Decline if you want, but we'll proceed either way." He bristled. "I won't be coerced." I didn't blink. "No coercion, just consequences." He reached for posture. "You should focus on your wife's recovery." I let a beat pass. That's why I'm keeping my voice down. It sank in that I wasn't going to swing wildly. He changed tack. "I regret any distress," he said, textbook. "Regret isn't responsibility," I answered. "Here's what responsibility sounds like. I will notify my employer and step off this case." He didn't reply. The nurse entered, saw the scene, and moved like a practiced boundary. "For the record," she said, crisp but kind, "staff may not provide personal care to patients with whom they have conflicts, including personal relationships. We'll ensure a different attending." She placed a printed policy on the tray like a judge lays down a statute. Dr. Sam cleared his throat. "I'll inform scheduling," he said, voice smaller. "Good," I said. "And you'll put in writing that you acknowledge paternity. Today." He balked. "That's a legal document." I didn't flinch. "So are the bills you've been letting land on my lap." She tried to rout around me. "I'll speak with her privately." The nurse stepped in, firmer. "No private conversations without patient consent and staff present. Boundaries are in effect." Her sister snapped. "Who are you?" "Her lawyer." The nurse didn't blink. "No, her nurse. And his witness." She set a clipboard down. "If Dr. R wishes to make a statement for the record that he is recusing and will not contact this patient outside professional channels, he can say so now." He took the out. "I am recusing," he said fast, "and I won't contact her outside professional channels." A pulse of relief, thin but real, passed through the air. I nodded. "Thank you. Last point. You will coordinate with your insurer and hers for reimbursement of any costs improperly assigned to me." He started to argue policy. I didn't let him. "You're a doctor. You know how to document. Document." Ravi's mouth twitched, a micro smile. My father watched me like I had suddenly grown into the suit he always hoped I'd wear. Her mother finally found her voice. "Sam," she said on a rush. "How long?" He fumbled. "I'm not." She cut him off with a tremor. "How long?" He chose cowardice. "I should go." The nurse's eyebrow moved a millimeter. "The call can end when the family ends it," she said. He sighed, a long, tired, human sound. "A year," he said. My wife made a sound that could break a plate. Her sister's shoulders dropped like a tent pole giving way. Her cousin whispered, "New beginnings," like it was a curse. I kept it clean eat, new beginnings, like it was a curse. I kept it clean eat. "We're done," I said, then added, because I couldn't help it, "Do not step into this room again." He didn't argue. The line clicked in. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. The baby sighed. The monitor beeped its indifferent rhythm. Then her mother stood and put her hands on the rail like it was the only stable thing she owned. "I am ashamed," she said to her daughter, voice not loud, not cruel. "Not of the baby, of the lies." My wife curled inward, face pinched with sleep pain, humiliation. There was enough hurt in the room to fill a truck. Her sister squared up, last stand. "He humiliated you," she said, pointing at me. I shook my head. I asked one question. He answered. Ravi added, friendly like a bartender, "Speakerphone humbles everyone equally." My dad cleared his throat. "We will help with logistics," he said to the room, diplomat mode. "But we won't help with pretending." The nurse slid the policy closer to the foot of the bed. "For clarity," she said, addressing no one and everyone, "attending care will be transferred. Family visits will be limited to 2 at a time. No phones in the patient's face. If boundaries aren't honored, security can help." She didn't look at me, but she didn't need to. She built me a fence without asking for thanks. I turned to my wife, kept my voice low. "You heard him." She stared at the blanket. "I heard," she said, toneless. "I'm tired." I nodded. "Rest. The baby stays center." Slid the refusal copy in my wallet, closed it with a small click that echoed in my head like a vow. Her sister muttered, "You'll regret this," on her way out. I didn't look at her. "I regret staying blind," I said. "Eyes open feels better." Ravi clapped my shoulder once. "We good?" he murmured. I exhaled. "We're clear." He nodded, satisfied like a contractor who inspects a beam and finds it true. As people drifted, the room cooled from fever to firm. The nurse checked vitals with gentle hands. My dad touched my arm. proud of how you stood," he said, voice rough. I swallowed something hot. "Thanks," I said. He left it there. I stepped to the bassinet and watched the baby dream. Tiny mouth making the smallest O, fingers flexing like they were learning clouds. I whispered, "You're safe, because safety doesn't require DNA." Then I stood straight, turned back toward the living, and prepared. The break, goodbye without drama. I waited until the room was quiet enough to hear the soft squeaks of the bassinet. My wife slept in that heavy way that looks like surrender. The baby's hand had escaped the swaddle and was doing a slow-motion wave, greeting a world that had already complicated itself. I stood by the nursery window and let my chest catch up with my body. I whispered to the glass more than to anyone, "Hey, Star." The reflection threw my face back at me. Older, clearer. I leaned closer. "You're going to be okay," I said, voice so soft I barely heard it. "You don't need me to be alive to be safe." I meant it. It landed inside me like a key turning. A nurse rolled the bassinet toward the nursery for routine checks, and I walked beside her like a quiet escort, consistent and temporary. At the window, I stood a step back, hands in my pockets, watching the tiny bundle on the other side of the glass get swaddled by practiced hands. I didn't wave. I didn't claim. I just let my eyes memorize details I had no legal right to protect, and every human right to honor, the way the forehead wrinkled when the hat shifted, the soft, stubborn mouth. Ready to head back, the nurse asked. I shook my head a little. 1 second. I leaned forward, let breath fog the glass, and whispered to the blurry reflection, "Goodbye." Just the one word. I didn't make a speech. I didn't stage a scene. I owed the baby a clean line. Back in the room, my wife stirred. "Where were you?" she murmured. "Nursery window," I said. She blinked at the ceiling. "Are you done being theatrical?" Almost let that hook me. I didn't. "I'm done being confused," I said. "I'm leaving the lie here. You handle your truth." She turned toward me like a rusted hinge. "We can fix this," she tried, softer now, like the word fix could be a blanket tucked around both of us. "We can go to counseling. We can—" I shook my head once. "You started counseling without me a year ago," I said. "I'm just arriving at the session." She winced. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of every day we didn't talk. It wasn't empty. It was full of every day we didn't talk around us. I pulled my ring from my finger with a feeling like peeling off a bandage you wore too long. The circle had warmed to my skin. I held it for one breath, remembered sliding it onto her hand at the courthouse, the way our friends threw birdseed that stuck in my hair. Then I set it on the tray next to the water cup. No clink. Just a soft, unimpressive sound, like a lid setting. "I won't take your name hostage," I said. "I won't take this day, hey. I won't take this day, hey. I won't take this day, hey. Won't take this day, hey, wash. I won't take this day, hey, bane, one. I won't take this day, hey, non-monta." Her hand twitched toward the ring and stopped. "Don't," she whispered. Not a command, more a prayer. "Please." I kept my voice even. The circle breaks. It doesn't mean we never had one. It means this one ends. She reached then, fingertips skimming the ring like it might burn. She picked it up, looked at it as if it had betrayed her too, and let it fall back. The small drop sounded louder than it should. "I'll handle my exit," I said. "You handle your truth." She stared at me like I was speaking a language she didn't want to learn. "You're abandoning me," she said finally. "No," I answered. "I'm refusing to be abandoned while standing next to you." My dad knocked once from the hall and didn't enter. A courtesy. Robbie leaned in behind him and raised his eyebrows. I nodded. He stayed put. My wife's mother hovered by the chair and then stepped back out, giving us a rectangle of privacy the size of a breath. I leaned over the bassinet. The baby's mouth did a fishy little open close. "You don't know me," I said softly, "but I know you deserve a room without my heartbreak ricocheting off the walls." I laid a fingertip against the blanket and felt the tiny heat through cotton. Then I lifted my hand and walked it back to my pocket like I was training it to leave things alone. Ravi pressed a manila envelope into my hand. "Paperwork," he said under his breath. "Declined statement copies, contact list, lawyer retainer, and a granola bar because you forget food when drama's on the menu." I almost smiled. "You're ridiculous," I said. "Incorrect." I turned to my wife and kept my posture loose. "No pointing, no fists, no theater. I'll coordinate with the advocate to move my stuff out today," I said. "Please go to Ravi for now. I'll send a list. Photos of the house items for division," I added because normal sentences felt like ballast. "You can keep the nursery as is. I'll reclaim the room when the papers are signed." She grimaced. "That's petty." I shrugged. "That's practical. I can't sleep under those stars." She stared at the ceiling like she could count them. "Remember when we stuck them up and you sneezed yourself off the chair?" she said, an exhausted, desperate smile tugging. A micro flicker of our old movie played on the wall. "Yeah," I said. "I also remember it was us who stuck them up." She closed her eyes. "Stop," she whispered. "Please." I sighed, a sound I didn't name. "I'm not going to scream," I said. "I'm not going to smash a vase. I'm going to leave like a man who wants to recognize his reflection tomorrow." The nurse came in with a vital check, quiet as always, and caught my eye on her way out. She slipped something folded into my palm like a magician. I didn't look right away. After she left, I opened it. A short note in compact handwriting. I witnessed. "If you need a statement, call." Her number underlined once. My throat tightened for the first time all day. A witness is a tether when the story tries to drift. I slid the note into the manila envelope and zipped my bag. I looked at the bassinet and the woman in the bed and the ring on the tray. Everything in me wanted to fix, to arrange, to carry. The part of me that had learned today's lesson put a hand on that impulse and said, "Not yours." "I'm going to say goodbye," I told my wife. She didn't say don't need to say goodbye. She didn't say don't, won't. She didn't say don't, the wife. She didn't say don't, she didn't say do. She watched me like a test she couldn't study for. I bent to the bassinet one more time, careful not to make a ceremony out of it. "Sleep," I whispered. "Grow. Be held by people who chose the truth." I paused. I'm choosing it too. It wasn't a blessing. It was a boundary. Ravi picked up the bag. "You ready?" he asked, like we were leaving a movie that had gone on too long. "Yeah," I said. I took one step, then another, and didn't turn back because I didn't want to rewrite the moment with longing. In the doorway, I paused, hand on the frame. "I'll send the lawyer's info," I said to the room, "and a list for the house. Take what you need for the baby, with the rest." My wife nodded infinitesimally. Her mother dabbed at a tear she didn't want anyone to see. The nurse appeared in the hall like a quiet guard, then vanished. We walked. The corridor smelled like soap and old coffee. I counted tiles because counting gives you something to do that isn't thinking. At the elevator, Ravi hit the button and looked at me sideways. "Want the stairs?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I need the steps." We took 11 flights. On the landing between 6 and 5, I stopped and put my hands on my knees like a teenager after suicide's drill. Ravi stood 3 steps below, not pushing. "You okay?" he asked. "No," I said, "but I'm right." He nodded. "Sometimes that's the only pillow you get." We came out into the lobby where a kid in a dinosaur hoodie was chasing his dad around a bench. The dad roared quietly. The kid screamed with delighted terror and then laughed. The ordinariness of it felt like a gift I hadn't ordered. I held the door for a woman with a bouquet and walked into air that didn't smell like antiseptic. In the parking lot, my car sat where I'd left hours and a lifetime ago. I put the bag in the trunk and closed it with a gentle push. I didn't slam anything. I looked up at the hospital windows, gold squares against a gray afternoon, and saw my reflection in the glass of the automatic doors, a man carrying less and more than when he came in. Ravi leaned on the roof and studied me like a blueprint. "You did it clean," he said. "You left the fire in the fireplace." I nodded. "I wanted to throw a chair through a window," I admitted. "But then someone has to fix the window. I'm tired of cleaning up my own bad decisions." He grinned. "Welcome." He held out the keys to his spare room. "Crash at mine. Coffee in the morning. Lawyer at 9. I took them. "Text me if the house does anything weird," I said. He snorted. "Houses always do weird. People do weirder. I'll be there." We got in the car. I took a long breath that had nowhere to go and let it go anyway. As we pulled out, I didn't glance back to count the floors to her room. I knew where it was. I knew where I wasn't. And for the first time all day, the word okay didn't wobble. It didn't sing either. It just stood up. Resolution, consequences, and karma. Weeks later, papers filed, annulment path set, DNA confirmed, assets ring-fenced, silence replaced the sirens. HR opened an investigation. Dr. Sam resigned quietly. I listed the house with her new beginnings decal still stuck crooked. Friends took sides by not calling. I ran at dawn, therapy at noon, slept, finally. Therapy named the mess in plain language, which weirdly made it smaller. How could she loop turned into betrayal trauma symptoms, not personality flaws? I was checking locks twice, replaying conversations, jolting awake when a phone buzzed. The therapist called it hypervigilance. She said the antidote was regulation, not revenge. Breathe first, decide later. So I did boring things that saved me. Hydration, sunlight, lifting heavy, writing down what happened so the story couldn't be edited in my head by loneliness at 2 a.m. We mapped the dynamics like a crime scene, cognitive dissonance. I clung to the nursery stars while the lab said unknown. That's why the nurse's phrase, informed consent, hit like a key. It gave me a rule when feelings were a storm. Gaslighting light, we were on a break. Later, don't ruin. The birth, not cinematic lies, plausible pivots designed to delay. Naming them removed their power. Triangulation, sister blocking, cousin smoothing, mom dabbing. Not villains, just people protecting their picture of the family. Boundaries turned their urgency into background noise. Ethical breach, doctor as lover. Policy turned into armor. When ethics showed up on paper, my anger didn't have to do all the work. I practiced new muscles. Instead of fix it, I chose file it. Evidence beats outrage, the refusal form in my wallet, the chain of custody seal, the nurse's number. Each artifact was a sandbag against the flood of maybe I imagined it. I unfollowed anyone whose version of support required me to be quieter than the truth. Silence can be self-respect. It can also be complicity. I picked the first kind. On Tuesdays, the therapist and I rehearsed adult sentences that don't tremble. I don't consent to that narrative. Accuracy is care. No is a complete sentence for you. Here's why. Legal exposure and mental health. I stopped negotiating with a part of me that loved the idea of us more than the reality of her. Attachment is loyal. Boundaries are loyal to me. When the ache spiked, I'd stand under the shower and say out loud, "You did not fail at love. You succeeded at the truth." It sounded corny at first. Then it sounded like a spine. HR's investigation wrapped in corporate gray. He stepped down to pursue other opportunities. Translation, consequences with a soft landing. My consequence was different. I had to step into a life I didn't plan. Turns out, unplanned can be clean. The nursery became a room with boxes. The glow in the dark stars stayed up for a bit, then came down one by one like a small ceremony. I kept the last one and stuck it in my wallet next to the refusal copy. Reminder, feelings glow after lights out. Documents glow at noon. People asked in sideways ways if I hated her. The answer changed shapes. I hated the choreography, the storyboarding of a lie on a day built for truth. I didn't hate the human tired in a hospital bed. That's why it didn't scorch the earth. Rage performs, regulation protects. Viral moments are cheap, dignity compounds. The day I signed the annulment packet, I noticed my ring tan had faded. Skin forgets on its own schedule. I took a breath and wrote 3 lines in a notebook titled Next. Tell myself the boring truth first. Pick friends who say I'll witness before they say I'll hype. Keep receipts. Paper doesn't gaslight. I drove past the hospital once at dusk, windows lit like polite stars, and didn't speed up or slow down. The memory tried to pull rank. My body said, we've got this. I wasn't floating anymore. Feet on floor, name intact, future not dramatic, just mine. I passed the hospital at dusk, windows glowing like quiet lanterns, and keep driving. The truth hurt worse than I feared and better than a lifelong lie. I got my life back. If you want more stories where truth hits hard and comebacks hit harder, subscribe and watch the next one.